Aloha, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today, and today I'm on a field trip, and this is going to be a fun one of that. I'm all the way here on Big Island, Hawaii, on the Kona side. We're off the main belt road. It's 83-5696, and why we're here today is to share with you guys a cool nursery I found on my drive. Actually, I drove by and I'm like, oh crap, that was an edible nursery. I had to make a U-turn and come back, and when I made a U-turn, actually, there was a macadamia nut tree there, and I got a macadamia nut off it. But anyways, we're here at the Tropical Edible Nursery, and what this nursery focuses on is selling edible plants and landscape plants that you could grow here in the islands that's gonna flourish for you and make food for you. Here in the islands, specifically here in Hawaii, I mean, it is islands, and if the ship literally doesn't come in, you know, people can't eat food unless you're growing it yourself. So for this reason, I believe it's very important. Everybody in Hawaii should be growing at least some food to have a backup plan in case the ship doesn't come in. Plus, it's really fun to grow your own food, and you'll never taste food any better than stuff you grew in your own yard. So next, let's go ahead and head up the drive and share with you guys some of the cool plants, things they're growing, things they're selling, and some tips that I'll give you guys on my personal favorites on ones I would grow if I had a property here in Hawaii, which hopefully one day I will. All right, so we're headed up the drive, and as we do, I just wanted to point out a few things. I mean, they have many landscape plants, but also they have some edibles in there, and you would never know that some of these guys are edibles on this driveway up. Here's one right here. It's actually called the Cuban oregano, and these guys are edible. They're quite strong, taste similar to oregano. Next over here, besides the Cuban oregano, they have a whole patch of regular oregano, and this just acts basically as a ground cover. All these little leaves here that you're seeing, they're all edible, but it just looks like some standard landscaping. So you could even have nice landscaping that's edible, and you know, they don't even irrigate this. It rains enough, it gets enough water, and it's flourishing. Going on up here, they got some non-edibles, but that's all right. They got a lot of edibles. And we're gonna go ahead and show you guys next a really cool, decorative, yet edible plant you can grow if you wanna blend into your neighbors. So here it is. Here's one of my favorite edible landscaping plants, and check it out. It's this guy right here, and many of you guys live on the islands may have seen this. I like to call it the Swiss cheese leaf plant because these leaves have little holes like Swiss cheese. But what many people don't know is that these guys make edible fruit, and the fruit, it's the ultimate phallic symbol. Check it out. Looks like something when it gets hard. But anyways, what this guy is, this is called the Monstera deliciosa. And as you guys see this here, it is not yet edible. They need to be fully ripe to eat them. And what happens is once you harvest these guys, these little scales will actually drop off. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna eat the inside, and it tastes kind of like a cross between a pineapple and a banana. And you got to make sure that the scales fall off, and only eat the part that the scales fall off on. Don't eat the other part, think, oh, I could peel the scales back on the other part and eat it. Don't do it, man. If you do that, it's going to be like eating pins and needles in your mouth, and it's not fun at all. So here's another idea about, you know, placing edibles along with landscape plants. If you don't want to tear out all your landscape plants, I mean, here's a nice landscape plant. I have no idea what this name is. It's a nice red, tropical looking, maybe a Dracaena. And then next door, literally just planted 2.5, 3 feet away, we have a papaya tree. These guys get long and tall and make delicious fruit. And you know, to me, this blends in pretty perfectly. We got, you know, nice red, some edible fruits, and then nice red again. So even if you have non-edible plants, you know, you can mix in some edible ones next door. And if you are doing this, I would recommend starting out with a potted papaya that's actually quite tall, so it won't be too shaded out and already be established. And as we can see here, I mean, every other plant from here on up is papayas. So one of these days they're gonna be floating in a lot of fruit. All right, next let's go ahead and take a look at the little nursery up over yonder. So now we're at the top of the hill, and this is the main nursery area where I'm gonna share with you guys all the little potted plants and vegetables you can grow. There's not a lot of fruits in here. We'll take a look at the fruit trees next. But you know, I'd always encourage you guys, number one, if you live in Hawaii, grow fruit trees. Fruit trees are by far the easiest thing to grow and they're gonna be relatively low care. So literally you take a weekend, plant a couple fruit trees, and you forget about it. Forget about your fruit trees as long as it rains, which we get plenty of rain in the islands, and they're gonna do fine and thrive and produce fruit for you year after year. I mean, literally it's a one-time investment of buying a tree, and then it's gonna be fruitful and give you back for a long time. The vegetables, on the other hand, there's certain kinds of vegetables. There's annual vegetables and there's perennial vegetables. I tend to favor the perennial vegetables because these are the vegetables that are more like the fruit trees. You plant these perennial vegetables once, and guess what? It rains, weather happens, and they continue to grow year through year through year, and you'll always have some food there. In addition, they have some more annual vegetables that you'll continue to need to replant every, I don't know, maybe half a year or a year, because they'll finish and go through their whole life cycle. All right, so now what we're looking at are all the different little trees that they're offering, and they have a whole selection of trees that are gonna grow well here on the Big Island and in Hawaii. Due to the weather, beautiful weather out here today. Most of you guys are still probably 50 below possibly, and I'm here 80 degrees, a little bit of a breeze, actually sweating a little bit making this video for you guys. But what you wanna remember in Hawaii is that you wanna grow fruit trees, not the ones that you know and love from back home, but you want to get into new and different kind of fruit trees. If I lived in Hawaii, I would grow a lot of tropical fruit trees that are just not available and that are more uncommon. They have a large selection of citrus trees here, and while I might have a few citrus trees if my property was huge, if I had a smaller property, I would focus on some of the more rare and exotic ones. The reason for this is simple. Cost. If you had to buy citrus, and everybody here seems to be growing citrus, you could get it for relatively inexpensive. And if you want to get sapotes or abiu or durian, then it costs a lot more money. So I want to encourage you guys and focus on some of the more rare and exotic food crops. Also, if you're trying to make a business out of it, because everybody has citrus trees, they sell it for so cheap, you can't make a good markup. And if you choose to grow varieties and new fruits that people don't have, guess what? You could charge whatever you like because nobody else got it to compete with you. And I like that a lot. Plus, some of the flavors and taste sensations on some of these exotic fruits are far better, in my opinion, than just citrus. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the exotic fruit trees that they're offering today. Now we're looking at some tropical fruits, and tropical fruits are some of my favorite fruits. I eat a lot of fruits, and the tropical fruits, they're at the top of my list for my all-time favorite fruits, and it's quite unfortunate that many of you guys that live in the continental US that have never been to Hawaii or somewhere tropical have never gotten to taste them because they taste multitudes better than just your standard northern fruits. Here's one right here. It's actually called the lychee, and they have at least half dozen varieties of lychees here. Lychees are, if I had to explain them, it tastes like nothing else, but it's most similar to a grape, kind of a similar texture, but it tastes, 10 times sweeter than the sweetest grape you've had. I love them so much. Over here they got some long on, and actually a good long on, which is similar to a lychee, in my opinion, is far better than a lychee. In addition, they got one of my favorites that actually I think I had first here on this very island, brown sugar fruit. And literally this fruit tastes like brown sugar if you get it just right. In addition, they got the almighty king of fruits known as the durian. They got a little couple trees back there for sale. Durian fruits, if you're in the continental US, may sell for, $8 a pound for fresh durian. You could oftentimes get frozen durian at a local Asian market for $2 a pound, but they are in very high demand and actually quite delicious. It has a flavor like no other and a smell like it too. So amongst more of my friends, the tropical fruit trees, here's actually a black sapote. So delicious. This one makes like a nice black pudding. It's kind of related to the standard persimmon, but they're like chocolate on the inside. Black sapote, chocolate pudding fruit they're known as. I've had, ones that are crazy. I like to take the black sapote, blend it up with some dates, and you have literally a black chocolate pudding. Better than any other chocolate pudding you ever had. Here's a really cool one. It's actually called the Miracle Berry. And this is like a tree / shrub. This guy is really unique. You have to live, once again, these trees are for the tropics, or if you have a climate controlled greenhouse, they will not do well in northern climates. Plus, this nursery does not ship off island. But the miracle berry is a trip, man. These little berries sell for a lot of money just per one berry. I've seen them go for, you know, a couple bucks a berry sometimes. And these berries are like no other fruit that I've ever tasted. When you eat them, they have a pretty nondescript flavor. It doesn't really taste like much, but what it does, it really tricks your taste buds. So after you eat a miracle berry, anything that you have afterwards for maybe like the next half hour, hour or so, is gonna be messed up. So for example, if you just take the sourest lemon, right? You could eat the sourest lemon, you're like, ugh, it's sour, ugh. Totally gross, right? Eat a miracle berry, then eat the same lemon. You've never had and tasted the sweetest lemonade ever. It makes things that taste sour taste really sweet. It's totally a trip. I definitely would grow one of these guys if I lived in Hawaii. Another thing they have is a really productive fruit tree that does quite well, and there's many varieties of this kind. It's actually called the Suriname cherry. The Suriname cherry makes these little small cherry-like fruits that taste nothing like a cherry. They come in different colors, different varieties. I recommend the purple variety, and they're gonna grow large and produce a lot of fruit for you to eat. And they're pretty much always around. Another fruit tree that I would also grow is star fruit. Star fruit puts out multiple times a year. Many of these fruit trees may just put out like once a year. Star fruit is continual producer, as is things like the papaya. Be sure to check my past videos that I actually put a link below to a video I did with Ken Love on other tropical and fastest growing tropical fruit trees you should grow if you live here in the islands. All right, so now I want to share with you guys another tropical fruit tree you guys grow in Hawaii. I mean, one of the things many of you guys may like is cucumbers, and most varieties of cucumbers are, guess what? You know, more northern crops, and they're not going to optimally perform in Hawaii. Yeah, you could grow some cucumbers and they're going to do all right. But what I recommend is instead get one of these guys, which northern people and people in northern climates cannot grow. It's this guy right here. It's actually called a Balimbi fruit tree. And I've had these guys actually in Costa Rica. Out of the trunk of the tree grows these little cucumber-like fruits that taste pickled right after they come off the tree. They're totally amazing, and they'll grow really well. Once again, fruit trees, easiest to grow. Everybody in Hawaii should at least own one. What I'm going to specifically do in this part is actually really highlight some of the perennial vegetables I like and that I believe you want to grow in Hawaii. So let's take a look at this table. They have mostly edibles with a few non-edibles mixed in. Here's one of my favorite edibles to plant in Hawaii. It's this guy right here, and these guys are actually called the poha berries, also known as Cape gooseberries, Incan berries. If you go to a health food store and you'll pay like, I don't know, $15 a pound for dried Incan berries, but you can grow them easily in Hawaii. Here's another plant, the goji berry, that I'm not a super fan of. It hasn't really been too fruitful for me, whereas the poha berry is quite fruitful, produces a lot. Up in here, some small Suriname cherries, much more affordable than buying the large one, and these ones will get large over time. They have all kinds of cool stuff mixed in here. Up here's, of course, your standard Swiss chard and standard collard greens and some kale and some dinosaur kale. And these are good annual vegetables. If I had to choose one out of all these, I'd probably pick the Swiss chard and the dino kale. That's two, actually. They're going to do quite well. Of course, the red Russian kale is good. I like that one also. Moving along, they got the society garlic. Garlic is pretty much not too growable here in Hawaii, but you can grow the society garlic that has edible flowers. Parsley, one of my favorite herbs to grow. That'll do quite well here too. Of course, the rosemary. Rosemary is an excellent herb that everybody should grow. You'll never have to buy any kind of rosemary seasonings again. Next, we have the garlic chives. So if you want to grow garlic, just grow the garlic chives and feel happy with clipping the greens to get that garlic flavor instead of having that bulb garlic that you're used to. Moving right along to the other side of the table here, it looks like they got some peppers. They got some standard hot peppers here. Black pearl chili is one of the hottest peppers they're offering. Oh, and here's the one I would grow if I lived in Hawaii. It's called the Hawaii chili. This is literally a perennial here. You'll have hot little chilies all year long, grow into a nice big shrubby type bush. If I lived in Hawaii, I probably wouldn't really mess with the standard red bell pepper. You know, those are too passe. I'd much rather grow the Hawaiian chilies. They're gonna be more perennial, where this one won't quite do as well, in my opinion. Next, of course, some perennial vegetables that I know and love a lot. The first one is actually called the purple Okinawan spinach. This is actually going to be a nice ground cover, produce a lot of leaves. All these leaves are edible. On the bottom here, it's purple, and that's why they call it the purple Okinawan spinach, definitely really good. So besides the more rare purple Okinawan spinach, they also have the standard green variety, and it's green on the back of the leaves. And once again, both Okinawan spinaches you can harvest and just eat raw in a salad. Completely delicious and is going to do really well here in Hawaii. Definitely one of my top picks for growing edible vegetables in Hawaii. Next, let's take a look at the Malabar spinach, another edible perennial that I would grow if I lived here. It's going to grow year-round. It's great. It'll be a ground cover, or if you trellis it up, it'll gladly grow up a trellis and vine up it, and it grows really well. All the edible leaves are edible. You can just eat them raw as you can with the Okinawan spinach. And then also, I also eat the little berries. So I'll get the purple color out of the berries and I'll spit out the seed, save the seed for replanting. Now besides just the standard green kind, it's the kind, man. They got the red kind. I like the red kind, man. So the red kind I like because it just looks a lot more pretty than the green kind, but for best results, intermix them and plant a green and a red, green and a red. Definitely really cool. Next here, they got another one of my favorite perennial vegetables. And what they call this here is actually, they call it the ung choi. I know this as actually the water spinach. So the water spinach, it likes staying moist. And you could just go ahead and pick the leaves and eat them. It has one of the most mild flavor for any leafy green that I've ever eaten. Definitely my favorite. Watch out, these guys can take over and get invasive on you. So, you know, you want to contain it and control it so it doesn't get too crazy. All right, so now let's go ahead and head into the little shade house that has some shade on it for some more delicate perennial vegetables and annuals that you can grow here in Hawaii. So of course, no garden may be complete without this guy right here. I mean, this is a food that was imported to Hawaii from by the Polynesians. This is the taro, so the taro root. They traditionally fermented the taro raw into poi and ate it, yes, without cooking. One of these days I want to try some traditional poi. I'm really looking forward to that day a lot. Let's see, oh, another really good one to plant here in Hawaii is this guy right here. It's called the moringa. The moringa is going to do fabulously here in the tropical environment. Moving right along, looks like they got some papaya plants, and getting them when they're quite small is really inexpensive. They're just $2.50 or $3 here. Oh, and here's some more small little fruit trees. Wow, buy your own cacao tree, only $4. Amazing. So I always encourage you guys to buy the largest fruit tree and the largest plants that you can possibly afford. If you don't have a lot of money, that's fine. Get a $4 fruit tree. If you have more money and you could afford it, get the largest size possible. Why? The largest size possible tree is more developed, it's more mature, it's going to produce sooner for you instead of later. All right, moving right along, another herb that's going to do quite well here in Hawaii is the basils. They have some African blue basils here. Definitely looks pretty good. They got the Thai basil. I'd probably go with the Thai basil. Does really good in the heat. I probably wouldn't go for the standard Genovese basil. It's too kind of common. But another basil I like is in the back here. It's actually known as the holy basil, which may have some healing powers. All right, here at the nursery, they got my favorite table. It's the 50% off table. Things that are on sale. And oh man, check it out. This deal is amazing. Too good to pass up, although I must pass them up because even if you are visiting Hawaii, you cannot take plants or soil back with you unless they're inspected and certified, and this is a non-certified nursery. But what I would get if I lived here in town, I would buy all these guys that looked healthy. There's a few that don't look so healthy. This is known as the yacon. So the yacon here, and I have videos on yacon. I've grown yacon in California and Las Vegas, and this produces an edible tuber that you can eat raw and is known as the earth apple. So it tastes, you know, a little bit sweet, not like a Fuji apple, but definitely sweeter than a Granny Smith in my book. And also they use the leaves as like a tea, and actually the cone leaves could actually sell for a lot of money in a tea. So yeah, I'd definitely go for all those guys. Next, let's take a look at another tuberous root vegetable you can grow here in Hawaii. So another tuberous root vegetable you can easily grow in Hawaii is this guy right here. And as you guys can see, it's literally busting out the pot. I mean, this is just a small, I don't know what, 10-gallon pot. And the ginger is actually coming out of it. So that's another one you definitely want to do some landscaping with, is the edible ginger. In addition, you could probably also grow the galangal ginger. And another tuber that I don't know that they're selling here is the turmeric, and I'd actually prefer you guys to grow turmeric instead of ginger. Turmeric is really valuable. Not only is it grow really well here in Hawaii, but it's very high in nutrition and especially the antioxidants. If I had to classify one tuberous root vegetable as the most healing, it's the turmeric. And you want to juice some turmeric root every single day if you have a growing and you live in Hawaii. All right, next let's take a look at the little babies plants. The babies, hi babies. So these are little babies, they're starting out, they're not yet for sale, and they're propagating them. They got things like parsley growing, some different greens growing, some basil growing, some tomatoes growing, some eggplants growing, all starting from seeds. Now, people, it's not hard to start things from seeds. Get a little shade house like this so, you know, it's not too hot on your plants. Get some good soil, put some seeds in there and water them. I mean, here in Hawaii, most things grow like weeds. All right, so it's always exciting for me when I learn about a new edible crop that I didn't know about before, and today's one of those days. It's this guy right here. It's actually called the mamaki, and what this is used for is actually used for a tea. So because it is used for a tea, it must be at least some partly edible. And I did try a leaf earlier, and the leaves have a really mild flavor. So I gotta look up to see what this really is, because in Hawaiian they have many names for things that are different than that we would call it in English. But so far, I like this plant a lot. I'm going to research it and see if it's a viable plant to grow. I do know that the tea for this stuff in health food stores sells for a lot of money. So if you want to make some cash, grow this guy, turn it into tea, and sell the leaves. All right, here's some more edibles. Here they're just starting. The Okinawan spinach. These guys are propagated by cuttings. Really simple and easy to do. They got the green and the purple kind. Once you guys got it going, you guys could start propagating the plants and giving that to friends. Plant it in roadside ditches. Well, maybe don't do that. But yeah, super simple, super easy. Here's more of their different plant starts they're starting, including garlic and sage and eggplants and different lettuces and tomatoes. Down underneath here in a more shaded style environment, they even have more things growing. I see some like a chayote vine growing there, and here's some of the cranberry hibiscus that I like so much, and they're only selling for $4. Definitely an amazing deal. Oh, another thing that you can buy here, and they're not priced unfortunately, are the sugarcane plants. So literally all you do is you tack off a piece of sugarcane, you put it in, you know, just horizontally in the soil, and these little buds here basically pop out and shoot up to be a whole new plant. So yeah, if you see some sugarcane on the side of the road, it has these little buds. Don't tell nobody, but hack some down and take it home and plant it in a little 1-gallon pot like this. Really super simple, easy. And what you're going to get is like this guy. Here's the same thing, just planted, and as you guys can see, it's just basically that little nodule popped up and turned into a little blade of grass, because after all, that's what sugarcane is, a blade of grass, and it's probably the sweetest grass that I know of. So now we're looking at their greens table here with a bunch of leafy greens. One of the challenges living in a tropical location is that most varieties of leafy greens like it cooler, and that's why they thrive in the winter in places like California, and even maybe where you live, they grow in colder weather. So leafy greens tend not to perform well here in the tropics. And if you live in the tropics, I would highly encourage you guys to grow the perennial leafy green vegetables like the Okinawan spinach I talked about, like the Malabar spinach I talked about, like the roselle, and like another one we're going to see in a second, the katuk. But if you do want to grow the annuals, I recommend you guys purchasing or growing some of the varieties that I showed you in this video. You know, the lacinato or black or Tuscan kale does really well. In addition, something like the tatsoi also does really well, endures the heat quite well. The Noa lettuce, a really good winter also for here in the islands. So while we're on the subject of the leafy greens and perennial edible leafy greens, my #1 top pick for edible leafy greens, perennial leafy greens in Hawaii and any other place at tropical is this guy right here. It's actually called katuk. Katuk grows like a long, like nice tree. I've seen them get up to like 6 feet tall. They have a nice long singular stalk. They have a nice tree-like look with a single stem that's actually fairly thin. And the leaves, if you pick them and eat them, my friend describes as taste like peanut butter. I wouldn't say they taste like peanut butter, but they're one of the sweetest and most delectable leaves that I've ever eaten. They do have the green variety of Katuk here. There is also a more rare, variegated variety of Katuk that I actually haven't yet seen in the islands, but I've seen in Florida. All right, looking at some more plants here. Another one I'd probably grow if I lived in Hawaii is the vanilla vine. So you can make your own vanilla fruit. You will probably need to pollinate them manually. And you know, those are nice plants. I kept one alive indoors inside my home for many years until I forgot to water it. Another one that's going to do quite well here, another perennial-ish style plant. They call it the Ipu, I-P-U. I would call it the chayote. So the chayote makes a nice squash-like fruit. And many people don't know you can also eat the little tips of the chayote squash vine. Here's another one. It's another edible that I would also plant. I'm not sure if this one's going to be perennial in this climate. I have had it, you know, bolt for me. But this is actually called the beet berry. And it says spinach-like. I believe this is a chenopodium and potentially even known as a strawberry spinach. Definitely really a good one to plant. Of course, the comfrey will grow like a weed and also maybe take over even. And it's definitely another good one to grow for fertilizer or for medicinal uses. Oh, of course, another one that I'd probably grow is the arugula. It's probably going to bolt really quick, but while you got it, it's going to be nice and hot and spicy. All right, so next I'm going to look at one of my favorite kind of herbish type plants. It's this guy right here. This plant is known as the spilanthes, and this is actually known as the toothache plant because guess what? If you have a toothache, you harvest this little, you know, seed bud right here, or mature flower bud. This guy right here that you guys can see. We'll go ahead and harvest that for you guys. And you're going to take that and then chew it up. You can feel the sensation in your mouth. It kind of like, it feels like this pulsating, like, and then you feel it spread and it kind of like makes your tongue go numb. So it's probably some kind of like natural Novocaine type stuff, man. It's completely a trip. My tongue is like, it feels like on my tongue it's like making these little water droplets because it's just kind of like that. I love it a lot. I definitely would grow this one in Hawaii as well. Yeah, it's definitely good for party time tricks and gags. Give it to somebody. Here, try this. And they'll probably freak out because they've never had anything in the world like this. If you do live in a northern climate, whoa, it's like my whole tongue's getting numb now. I can't really talk too much anymore. If you do grow these in a northern climate, they will grow. You want to keep them and grow them in the summertime, you'll probably be able to get some buds off them. Wow, I still love this one a lot after all these years. Next, let's take a look at some more herbs that grow in Hawaii. One of them is this guy right here. It's known as the Vietnamese coriander. This will definitely get invasive on you. You could use the leaves as a seasoning agent. Of course, I love the cilantro. It's probably going to bolt really fast here in Hawaii. One that will do quite well that I would also grow, this guy right here, it's known as stevia. This is actually known as the sweet leaf. So literally, they make sugar substitutes out of this guy, but it contains no sugar. So if you're diabetic, these are safe for you because it will not raise your blood sugar. And you could just literally pick these guys and eat them. They're super sweet and super delicious. Some varieties may have a little bit of an aftertaste. Of course, you could grow some things like the oregano, which is going to be a good ground cover. They also got the marjoram, and in addition, they got the sage. Oh, and check it out. This is the only one I've seen so far. They got the okra. Okra, definitely another plant that I would plant if I lived in Hawaii. It would do quite well in the heat and produce a lot of fruit for you. So the last thing I'm going to cover here in this greenhouse are these guys, one of my favorite vining crops. So if you have like a small yard but a lot of fence area, because maybe you're in the city or whatnot, I always encourage you guys to use every possible space you have to grow food. And if you have a fence, you can grow things up that fence. And what I'd recommend is this. And they also actually grow up alive trees or trees that are no longer alive. And these guys are called the lilikoi. So many of you guys that live in Hawaii know what lilikoi is, and many of you guys that live on the mainland do not. And the lilikoi is simply passion fruit. Passion fruits are quite delicious. Sell for like 10 bucks a pound in the continental US when I'm able to find them. Here they sell, and they're pretty much a dime a dozen. Why? Because they grow really easy. Here's one of the most common varieties of the passion fruits, the yellow kind. And they also have a purple kind. Some of the more rare ones are like the Jamaican orange kind that actually is quite sweet and my favorite passion fruit that I've tasted to date. In addition, they have a new variety of passion fruit that I'm not familiar with. It's actually called the bubblegum lilikoi. So this is purported to be a sweet passion fruit, and I definitely want to try this one. So if you grow one, You get them ripe, hey, let me know. I might come over for a visit to try your bubblegum passion fruits. Doesn't that just sound delicious? The next thing I want to do at this nursery that's really cool, unlike other nurseries, they have a demonstration garden to show you guys what you can do, you know, in your yard with some of these plants that have a perennial annual garden that can grow food for you year round. Whether you live on the islands, you're just passing through, this is a place you're definitely going to want to stop at to just take in the beauty and the nature. So besides the nursery that has trees that you could grow here to produce your own fruits, the annuals and perennial vegetables you can buy, the coolest thing about this place is that they give you ideas by showing you guys what is possible. They've set up an amazing little herb garden that anybody could stop and walk through to get their fix in nature and to see some of these plants and their growth habits to give you guys ideas. And what I'm going to do now is actually take you on a little tour of their herb garden, and I'm going to specifically share with you guys some of the crops that I see that to me look like are doing well, and some plants that I would grow in Hawaii to have an edible homestead. All right, let's enter the herb garden here as we go underneath the wind chimes. So it looks like they got some beds here. They have a bed on the edge that boundaries the grass area. They have a wood chipped walkway with another bed in the middle with another walkway, and then the bed on the right looks like it just has the standard things growing that's native. And let's see, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these beds here. One of the cool things I like about this herb garden is that they have little plant tags and everything's labeled. So here's a grummy chaba, which is actually a fruit. In addition, right here next to their little fence, in the back side of their fence, check it out, they got a green Malabar spinach and a red Malabar spinach already starting to climb up and grow up. Definitely an excellent use of the Malabar to grow up fence. And they have so many different things planted and growing. Let's see, here's some peppers here. Looks like they got some chives here. Looks like some eggplants. I definitely would grow some eggplants. Look at these huge eggplants that are pretty much grown as a perennial here in Hawaii. I would grow personally the smaller varieties like the Japanese style eggplants. And of course they got some more peppers. Here's some red Russian kale. It's growing nice and big. Definitely a good pick for an annual. Leafy green. There's some pansies. Look like they might be having some challenges growing. And check it out, this holy basil. Holy basil, Batman. It's man, it's like 3 feet tall. Look at that. I mean, we could only wish we get basil this tall in northern climates, and it's nice and branched out and a nice large bush. You could literally have basil for pesto every night of the week if you live here in Hawaii, and plant some basil, whether it's the holy basil or another variety. There's some chard growing that's recently planted. Here's one of my favorite herbs to grow. It's actually known as the pineapple sage. You can use the leaves as a sage type flavoring, and I like to particularly enjoy the little flowers. You can pick a flower and see that little white tip on the end. That has the nectar. That's where the nectar's stored, and the hummingbirds like to stick their beak down the long spout there of the flower and get the little nectar. But for me, I just like to eat the nectar. So I'll bite off the little bit, get a little bit of nectar, then I'll consume the rest of it and get some nice antioxidants. Moving right along, looks like they got a really nice looking plant of parsley, and check it out, this whole thing is one plant of parsley. It's filled out very nice. I would definitely grow some parsley if I lived here in Hawaii. In addition, they got the red hibiscus here. These guys produce really beautiful flowers that are edible. Let me see if I can find a flower. They kind of blend into the leaves. There's a nice flower there that's just opened up, and the leaves are edible. You could eat these like you would spinach. In addition, you can make teas out of the flower pods. They make like a lemonade out of it. Here's a black Hungarian chili, and here's that Hawaiian chili pepper I was talking about. I mean, this guy's like 3 feet tall, and unless you're like a hot pepper lover, you will not even put a dent in keeping up with how many peppers this is going to produce, unless you're actually making maybe a hot sauce to sell. Here's a comfrey. It looks like a nice little patch of comfrey growing, and there's me. Hey, what's up, me? And let's keep going. Here's a Suriname cherry plant, small one they just planted. And here's a cool one, man. If you want to grow your own clothes, this is cotton. This cotton is actually about 7 feet tall now, and has all these nice large bowls that hopefully one of these days will open up and have that little cotton that we know and love. A really good herb to grow if you live in Hawaii is this guy. And let me back up a little bit so you guys can see the scope of this thing. I mean, this thing is like a 6-foot circular mob, and this is actually the rosemary. So it's like literally a rosemary bush, like huge bush, and it's going to do really well. Once again, you'll never have to buy rosemary again as long as you buy one and plant it and keep it healthy. Oh, another one I'd really grow if I lived in Hawaii right here, the sugar cane. I mean, they grew a lot of sugar cane back in the olden days for sugar, but I encourage you guys to actually grow the sugar cane and to juice or just put this stalks in your mouth and chew up to get the rich, delicious, mineral-rich sweet water out of it. Here's some lemongrass, another cool one that I would grow also. You can have lemongrass any time of the year. Here's African blue basil, looks like it's doing quite well. Nice large shrub once again. Moving right along, some arugula that looks like it's gonna be flowering soon. Here's some awapui ginger, which is can be used for like hair care. Oh, here's another cool one. This is a nitrogen fixing plant known as the pigeon pea, and the peas are also edible once they have been cooked, so it can be valuable. Here's a dinosaur kale, definitely another annual leafy green vegetable you can grow. Here's some marigum, looks like it's doing quite good. Moving right along. Oh, another really cool one, man. Here's a cardamom plant growing. I'd probably definitely have one of those too if I lived here. And here's some nice collard greens. I would recommend probably like a Georgia collards variety. The leaves get nice and large, do quite well. More peppers, rosemary. Check it out. Here's just like literally a wall, and this is actually a wall of lilikoi. As you guys could see, if we look really closely, we go up on it. You could check it out, man. These are some large looking lilikois. I mean, that's like as big as my hand, purple kind. And they'll turn like more to the yellow. Oh, this is a ripe one. Maybe I'll take this one with me. Next, let's take a look at some of my favorite perennial vegetables to grow in Hawaii and how they look once they're growing. Here's one here. They're pretty much growing it as a little tower, nice and full. And yes, it's the one right there. We're gonna go in a close-up shot on it. This is actually known as the katuk. To stop its growth habit, what you're gonna do is just top it like they've done here. They've literally just topped it, and then it basically encourages more bushing and branching out. These are the nice edible leaves you can eat, and then it actually starts to go to flower, the little red flowers there. Edible, and then it makes a little fruit that has the seeds in it that I would save and give to friends so that they could grow some katuk as well. All right, so here's another one of my favorite leafy greens. This is called the purple Okinawan spinach. This grows as a nice little ground cover bunch here. It's kind of like sitting maybe 1.5 feet tall and is encompassed maybe like 3 feet edge to edge. Definitely growing really well. One of the ones that I would definitely grow if I lived in Hawaii. And here it looks like it's thriving a little bit more. It's the standard green Okinawan spinach, and that looks like it's doing a lot better. I don't know if this was planted earlier, so it's a little bit more mature plant and older, but this looks like it'll give you leaves to eat for days and days and days in case the ship no longer comes in. So one thing that's very common in Hawaii and many other places is grass. Everybody seems to have a grass and a lawn, and I'm not a big fan of grasses or lawns. If you're planting an orchard, instead of having a lawn as the ground cover, maybe even try something like wood chips, which I'd recommend before grass, less maintenance. The other thing I'd recommend is known as perennial peanut grass. So let's actually show you guys what that looks like. It's actually not a grass, but it's actually grown as a ground cover. And here it is right here. It's actually the perennial peanut. And this is actually mixed in with something else. But here's the perennial peanut right here. That's what the leaves look like. And this will take over the ground. It's a nice ground cover, and it actually also fixes nitrogen. So at the same time it's acting as a ground cover, it's really pleasant to walk over barefoot. It's also adding nitrogen, fixing nitrogen and bringing that into your soil for your fruit tree orchard planted all around. Oh, here's another edible leafy green that I've learned about today that I'm gonna have to look up. This is actually called the sancho, and it's a little plant. I tried a few leaves off it earlier. It has a nice neutral flavor. So I'm gonna have to look that one up and see how edible it is. Hopefully it's not poisonous. Another cool thing that they're offering here is a pick your own salad. So as you guys can see, they got some lettuce here, and what you guys could do if you're visiting, or even if you live locally, you could come by here and just pick a bag of salad greens, and they'll charge you per the pound. And you could pick any of these perennial or annual vegetables, including the Okinawan spinach, the katuk I talked about, the lettuce, the chard, the anything you want actually, and that's awesome. So you could have your own salad just right off the street. So I hope you guys enjoyed that tour of the herb garden. I definitely had fun showing you guys around. It's definitely a sight to behold if you're driving by this area on a Big Island, you want to stop by. This is the only place I've seen with this kind of nursery. I think a nursery like this with edibles should be in every city, in every country of the world, so that people can start to now take control of their food supply, grow the non-GMO, grow better than organic food with high nutrient quality and the best flavor ever. So the last thing we're looking at today is just a standard raised bed vegetable garden. And you can incorporate some of these guys into your standard garden, but if you want to put in a raised bed, I would always recommend and encourage you guys to use the local resources instead of buying wood or whatnot. You know, you guys have lots of rocks here in Hawaii. You can literally just get a bunch of rocks, line them up next to each other, and that'll build your little enclosed raised bed. Fill that up with some good soil and start planting it. In this little raised bed here, it looks like they got some different kinds of kale, including dinosaur kale, which is my top pick for kale here. And also some pak choi, some Malabar spinach, some eggplant over in the back. Whole bunch of different diversity. I want to encourage you guys to grow a diversity in case that shift doesn't come in. If you're growing a diverse amount of crops, there'll always be something productive. If you focus on, I'm only going to grow tomatoes because I like tomatoes, what if your tomatoes aren't fruiting, right? If you grow a variety of different fruit trees, have different kinds, they all fruit at different times of the year. So this encourages that you'll always have some food that you grew on your property. In addition, the food that you grow on your property is going to taste better, it's going to cost you less, it's going to have more nutrition than anything money can buy. To sum it up, if you live in Hawaii, what I would recommend as a course of action, number one, plant fruit trees. The minute you buy your property, start owning your property, plant fruit trees. They will take years to develop, and plant them at appropriate spacing, number one. Number two, plant perennial edible vegetables. These are the no-care crops. Some of my favorite perennial edible vegetables that I've shared with you guys today. Katuk, top of the list, the Okinawan spinach, the green and the purple variety. Next, I would do the Malabar spinach, both the green and the purple variety. I'd also plant things like the standard dinosaur kale. I'd also plant things like the parsley that does really well here. I'd also start planting lilikoi vines, passion fruit vines. I mean, there's so many things to plant. I hope you guys truly enjoyed this episode to give you some ideas and encourage you guys to start planting at least one edible crop, perennial edible crop, whether that's vegetables or fruit at your home in Hawaii or wherever you live. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing. Right, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Aloha, I'm coming at you on a field trip. Actually, it's my vacation. I thought I'd film a couple episodes for you guys while I'm here.